Continuing on with our year in review interview series, I'm currently joined by Vermilion Lloydminster Wainwright MLA Garth Rowswell. And Garth, I wanted to open up this interview looking at some positives that went down in 2021. And one of the big local wins for this constituency has to do with the $18.9 million in upgrades to Vermilion's wastewater management facility. So I was just wondering if you could speak to that process and what it took to get the green light on the project.
Yeah, and it's been an ongoing process for quite a while, and they've completed it. So I got to give a lot of kudos to Vermilion Council and the work that they've done. They've upgraded their entire pipeline system, and there's no longer any steel there. It's plastic and or ceramic or whatever, but they've done a great job, and that was the final part of it. And I had a tour of the new facility, and it's high class. It's the water going into the river. Eventually, if it gets there, it's going to be better than what's there now. So, so they do a great job, and there's even a point there where they'll be able to utilize some of the stuff for fertilizing, spreading on people's fields. So, kudos to the town council there, and for ongoing different councils that saw this go forward over time and concluded in having a great system in place.
And another positive comes from the continued commitment to supporting people with addiction issues within this area. So I was just wondering if you could maybe speak to some of the development that we've seen with organizations like the Thorpe Recovery Center, as well as Residents in Recovery.
Yeah, those are good ones. I know Thorpe was having some troubles just getting financing for their beds, and it was a bit of a change in concentration as opposed to harm reduction. It was kind of the main focus previously, and now what we've added to is recovery. Our goal is to get people off of drugs, just not support them and have them take them safer. We still do that, but we want to get them off drugs eventually. So, the Thorpe Recovery Center is pretty much full. They're doing great work there. I was just talking to the chief of staff for mental health and addictions ministry the other day, and he was totally impressed with how things are managed in Thorpe, and they're just it's a real positive story for the area. And then Residents in Recovery kind of fills a gap in there. We've given them some money. I know Saskatchewan has given them more and longer term money than we have, and we're still working on that because they do provide a real service at a real economical rate, and they save us money in other places. So I'm still lobbying that, trying to get more consistent money in that area, but it does fit into our increased concentration on recovery and getting people off of drugs.
Then, before we wrap things up, I just wanted to talk about this last year within the Conservative Party, as there were times where some divide was brought to the attention of the general public. Obviously, with the subject of the pandemic, there's lots of room for divide and disagreements, but I was just wondering how you felt maybe about your state of relations within the party after we saw some conflict with the implementation of COVID restrictions back last winter/spring.
Yeah, no, there's no secret about it. There's been stressors within our caucus, and it's related to COVID. Like, if it wasn't for COVID, I think it'd be less of an issue, but it's just the management of this. And I've, just based what I've seen, regardless of the decisions that were made, because people will agree or disagree on both sides of whatever decisions we made. But I'm confident that the leadership, the people that have been making these difficult decisions, have made them based on public health and their concern for public health. And where we've made mistakes, we've admitted them. But it does, people are hurting, and businesses are hurting, and we hear that in the constituencies, and it puts a lot of pressure on us, and sometimes that breaks, and people come out and say stuff that and they're not illegitimate, they're true, and we do our best. But what I like about it is we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to have our input. We get heard. It doesn't always, the things that we bring forward doesn't always come to fruition, but I feel like I've been listened to. And we had a local event here where a 5-year-old kindergarten child had an issue on a bus, and I met with the mother, and I took those issues to the ministry and the premier, and nothing's changed yet, but we continue to work on that, and hopefully we can resolve that. The best thing is to get past this where we can all get back to normal and not have to wear masks and all that stuff. So there's been some real heartbreaking stories that have happened, and it just puts a lot of pressure on a person, that's for sure.
Thanks so much for your time, Garth.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate you reaching out, and it's a great way to connect with constituents at large. But they can feel free to call us at my consent office or my ledge office. I'm open to that for sure.